On September 12, 2025, astronomers identified an object that overturned nearly everything they believed about how the universe is supposed to behave. A massive body erupted from the depths of interstellar space, blazing across the sky with a tail stretching 5 times wider than a full moon. It was so vast and luminous that even amateur astronomers using backyard telescopes could clearly observe it. Within hours, researchers confirmed this was not an ordinary comet. It was far larger, far brighter, and far more unusual than anything previously recorded. Officially designated C/2025 R2 and now commonly called Swan. Its arrival alone would have been historic, but what truly stunned scientists was the timing. Another object, the already controversial 3I Atlas, was also approaching the Sun at the same time, racing inward from the opposite side of the sky. Both objects were predicted to reach their closest approach to the Sun within the same 10-day window. Both would be obscured by intense solar glare during the most critical phase of their passage. And both were already displaying behaviors that challenge established physical laws. The probability of 2 such extreme interstellar arrivals occurring together is so small that some researchers have stopped calling it coincidence and begun quietly using the word mission. One anomalous visitor was unsettling enough. The arrival of a second object, estimated to be nearly 100 times larger and moving through the same solar corridor, suggests we may not be observing random cosmic debris at all. We may be witnessing a coordinated event. As observations accumulated, what stood out about Swan was not just its immense scale, but how it behaved. Unlike conventional comets, which scatter light in predictable ways, Swan's reflections showed metallic characteristics, including signatures consistent with nickel and cobalt, materials commonly used by humans to create resilient, corrosion-resistant alloys. Some scientists began referring to it as the fortress. While most comets fragment or weaken under intense solar stress, this object appeared reinforced, maintaining a stable brightness curve that natural ice and dust models cannot explain. Its enormous tail, already unprecedented in length, did not flow chaotically like vapor. Instead, it exhibited faint but rhythmic variations, as if controlled microbursts were subtly adjusting its trajectory. The image now confronting scientists is unsettling, something akin to a skyscraper-sized structure drifting through space, wrapped in a luminous halo that may not be gas at all, but an electromagnetic sheath deflecting solar wind. Yet even more disturbing than its size is its timing. While Swan appears massive and fortified, its smaller counterpart, 3I Atlas, behaves more like a probe, agile and erratic. It shows sudden accelerations and shifts in tail coloration that defy complete natural explanation. Together, they do not resemble random passers-by. They resemble components of a single system, 2 distinct elements converging on the Sun simultaneously, concealed from observation during the very period when their true activity might unfold. When astronomers mapped the incoming trajectories of Swan and Atlas onto the celestial sphere, an extraordinary pattern emerged. Swan approached from the direction of Aquarius, while Atlas arrived from Sagittarius, regions separated by more than a quarter of the sky. Despite these radically different entry paths, both objects crossed into the inner solar system at nearly identical solar distances, reaching perihelion within just 3 days of each other. Statistically, this degree of synchronization borders on impossible. Random comets arrive over spans of decades or centuries, not in tightly paired intervals like this. Then came the blackout. From October 8th to October 18th, the Sun's glare rendered direct observation impossible, blinding telescopes at the precise moment when Swan and Atlas reached their closest proximity to the Sun and potentially to each other. To many observers, this appeared less like bad luck and more like coordination, as though their paths were engineered to intersect under the one condition that prevents us from watching. 2 anomalies arriving together, arranging their rendezvous within the only window where Earth cannot see. In orbital mechanics, this is sometimes described as a corridor, a narrow alignment of space and time that is exceedingly unlikely to form by chance. This corridor has forced the scientific community to confront a deeply uncomfortable question. What if these objects are not merely passing through, but deliberately converging? beyond orbital geometry. The energy measurements have raised even greater concern. Atlas had already stunned researchers with bursts of acceleration that resemble controlled thrusts, each requiring energy comparable to the output of multiple nuclear power plants. Swan, however, dwarfs even that. Its implied energy output reaches levels tens of thousands of gigawatts beyond the total power capacity of Earth. No known cometary nucleus can account for such output. Its metallic reflectivity, persistent halo, and rhythmic emissions point not to natural outgassing, but to regulation, as if plasma-based systems were actively steering it. The idea of engineered propulsion, once relegated to science fiction, is now quietly circulating among scientists who can no longer ignore the numbers. Equally troubling is the timing of those energy pulses. They are regular enough to resemble intentional signaling, structured enough to suggest communication. Some researchers have begun referring to Swan not as a fortress, but as a beacon. If Atlas behaves like a maneuvering drone, then Swan may be something far larger, a carrier or command structure designed to survive for millions of years in interstellar space. With an orbital period estimated at over 22,000 years, Swan may have passed through our region long before recorded history, perhaps even during the last ice age. If so, its previous visit may have left echoes in ancient myths, carvings, or warnings passed down through generations. Now it has returned, aligned once again with another anomaly, as if to remind us that intelligence may not be exclusive to Earth. Just as global attention reached its peak, silence followed. NASA, ESA, and other agencies quietly limited data releases, suspending high-resolution imaging and radar tracking during the exact days when Swan and Atlas were nearest the Sun publicly. This was explained as routine solar conjunction safety protocol. Privately, leaked communications suggested something more deliberate. Instructions emphasized avoiding public commentary, denying access to raw datasets, and redirecting independent observation proposals. The blackout was not only a consequence of physics, it was enforced. That institutional silence only amplified the efforts of independent astronomers. Across online forums and private networks, observers continued monitoring the sky, refusing to look away. Groups such as the Ibero Tracker Collective in Spain and Bill Gates' Distributed Telescope Network began sharing whatever fragments of data they could capture, attempting to preserve evidence that official channels would not release. This grassroots effort has fueled growing speculation that something extraordinary is unfolding beyond public view. Because if Swan and Atlas are truly converging with intent, then the question is no longer just what they are, is why they are here now. And if their encounter was engineered, then humanity may already be standing inside a mission it was never meant to see. As telescopes continued to follow 3E Atlas, a deeply unsettling pattern began to surface. Its tail was not merely glowing. It was changing in a way that appeared intentional. Over several weeks, astronomers recorded 3 distinct acceleration events. Each one was sudden, sharply defined, and spaced with near-perfect regularity. Every burst coincided with an unusual shift in the tail's color. At times it leaned toward red, then faded to neutral, only to snap back again, as though some hidden system were fine-tuning its output. Natural comet outgassing unfolds gradually, driven by solar heating and pressure release. What Atlas exhibited instead was abrupt, rhythmic, and controlled. Calculations showed that each acceleration would require energy comparable to 10 nuclear power plants operating at full capacity. For a body made of ice and dust, this defied reason. For a machine, it did not. At the same time, SW's immense structure appeared to echo this behavior on a far grander scale. Its colossal tail did not spread chaotically, but pulsed with faint, measured bursts, each one subtly altering its path. Like precise navigational corrections. One object was small, agile, and reactive. The other was vast, steady, and seemingly unstoppable. Together, they did not resemble wandering debris. They behaved like participants in a coordinated operation. Most unsettling of all, their propulsion events did not occur independently. They appeared synchronized. Orbital mechanics are normally the firm ground on which astronomers rely for certainty. In this case, that certainty became deeply disturbing. Swan and Atlas, despite entering the solar system from entirely different regions of the galaxy, aligned themselves within the same narrow corridor of space and time. Their perihelion distances, their closest approaches to the Sun, were separated by only 50 million kilometers, less than the distance between Earth and Mars. Their timing differed by just 3 days, and all of it occurred during the exact solar conjunction window when Earth-based telescopes were rendered blind by glare. For researchers accustomed to centuries of cometary data, nothing like this had ever been seen. Interstellar visitors normally arrive sporadically, separated by decades or longer, with trajectories scattered randomly through time and space. Here, however, were two anomalies intersecting the same corridor in near-perfect synchrony, as if guided by a timetable operating on a scale far beyond human perception. It was as though the Sun itself was not merely a gravitational anchor, but a rendezvous point, a hub for encounters we are only beginning to recognize. When coincidence fails to explain a pattern, design becomes the only explanation left, and increasingly, even the most restrained voices in astronomy were willing to admit this did not look natural. It looked engineered. When scientists compared the energy outputs of the two objects, disbelief hardened into dread. Atlas's brief thrusts released energy on the order of 10 gigawatts, enough to power major metropolitan regions. Swan, by contrast, exhibited sustained luminosity, implying an output closer to 10,000 gigawatts, exceeding the total energy production of Earth itself. No known natural process could account for such stable, immense power. Comets sublimate ice. Asteroids reflect sunlight. Nothing maintains that level of output without tearing itself apart. Speculation intensified. Some proposed that Swan was harvesting solar energy directly, using the Sun as a massive recharge station. Others suggested its metallic surface was designed to capture radiation and convert it into controlled propulsion. More radical voices argued it was not a comet at all, but a fortress-like construct, its glowing tail the visible effect of plasma shielding. The most unsettling idea was that this energy was not meant for movement, but for transmission, a beacon sending signals not toward Earth, but outward into deep space. If that were true, Swan was not simply visiting, it was reporting, and we were never meant to receive the message. As both objects approached perihelion, the institutions entrusted with transparency began to withdraw. NASA, ESA, and ISRO scaled back updates, restricted access to live telemetry, and rejected requests for raw data from Webb and other observatories. Information that had once been openly available was suddenly withheld. Official explanations pointed to routine conjunction protocols and internal review processes. Privately, however, astronomers spoke of explicit directives to remain silent. Information requests returned heavily redacted files. Leaks from observatory staff suggested research teams were reassigned, collaborations dissolved, and telescope feeds locked down. This was not the usual caution of scientific uncertainty. It was an intentional blackout. In response, independent astronomers stepped into the vacuum. Networks of backyard telescopes, repurposed satellites, and encrypted data exchanges sprang into action, determined to observe what governments would not disclose. With every official silence, speculation grew louder. Something extraordinary was unfolding. Something so disruptive that silence itself had become a tool of control. Because when discoveries threaten more than scientific models, when they challenge authority and power, the truth is rarely denied outright. It is concealed. And in this case, that concealment may be the most alarming evidence of all. As Swan and Atlas continued their inward advance, researchers began re-examining ancient records, not out of desperation, but because Swan's projected orbital period revealed something staggering. Roughly every 554 years, the object would return. That timing aligns closely with the end of the last ice age. Suddenly, archaeological sites such as Göbekli Tepe took on renewed significance. Its stone pillars bear carvings of celestial symbols, spirals, and sky-focused imagery that some researchers believe could represent long-period objects blazing across prehistoric skies. Imagine early humans watching a radiant structure, vast and unnatural, dominating the heavens, leaving such an impression that it became myth. Warning, or sacred memory carved into stone. If Swan had appeared before, it may have been witnessed by ancient civilizations, its passage preserved as prophecy or divine omen. If this cycle has repeated beyond the reach of recorded history, then what we are seeing now may not be a first encounter, but a return. Behind official statements and carefully worded briefings, quiet operations were reportedly unfolding. Sources spoke of a classified probe launched from a covert orbital platform, intended to test Swan's true nature, equipped with advanced particle scanners designed to penetrate the blinding tail and capture high-resolution structural data. The probe never completed its mission, just over 1 million kilometers from the target. Its signal abruptly vanished. At first, analysts suspected a systems failure. Then the final image arrived, a reflection, a fractal-like echo of the probe itself, as if Swan had scanned and mirrored it with perfect precision. Seconds later, the feed collapsed into silence. Engineers reviewing the data described what they believed the probe encountered: an energy barrier, a lattice-like field resembling a Faraday cage, engineered not merely to shield, but to repel intrusion. If this interpretation is accurate, then SW is not merely passing through space. It is protected, alert, and actively responding to anything that approaches too closely. The implications are deeply unsettling. It is not only immense in scale, it appears to possess awareness. Spectroscopic readings from Webb introduced another layer of complexity. Instead of the familiar combination of ice, dust, and silicate materials typical of comets, SW's spectrum revealed complex organic compounds, including polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. These molecules were not chaotic or randomly distributed. They appeared refined, structured, and unusually uniform, to the point that some scientists suggested they looked manufactured rather than natural. These compounds are fundamental to biology, precursors to amino acids, the raw ingredients from which life can arise. Unlike the disordered chemical mixtures found in primitive comets, SW's organic signatures were clean and precise, almost unnervingly perfect. This led to a radical hypothesis: SW might not simply be a machine, but a carrier, a seed vessel engineered to transport, preserve, or even disperse life across stellar systems. If Atlas functions as a drone, agile and adaptive, and Swan serves as a fortress, massive and shielded, then together they may represent different components of an ancient, long-running operation: observation, protection, and perhaps expansion. And if that is the case, then Earth's role in this sequence may not be accidental. We may be part of a process that began tens of thousands of years before our species ever learned to look at the sky. As the blackout period deepened, independent observers began noticing something few were willing to state openly. The trajectories of Atlas and SWN were not merely intersecting by chance. They appeared to be deliberately aligning toward the same region of space, converging into a corridor that brought them into close proximity near the Sun. For natural bodies, this level of precision would be absurd, yet the motion resembled intentional navigation, like vessels approaching a port for rendezvous. Some theorists propose that the Sun itself was functioning as an energy hub, a place where both objects could recharge. Others suggested the meeting was an exchange, with Atlas delivering accumulated data and Swan acting as a long-term archive or transmitter to destinations far beyond our solar system. The most unsettling idea, however, was that this convergence was not about them at all. It was about us, humanity, finally equipped with instruments sensitive enough to notice, may have become part of the sequence. If these objects have passed through unnoticed for millennia, then why do they now align so clearly, so visibly, precisely at the moment when we are capable of observing them? Perhaps the true rendezvous is not between Swan and Atlas, but between their mission and our awareness. As Webb continued to focus on SW, scientists uncovered something so unexpected that early reports were quietly downplayed. The object was not merely reflecting sunlight. It was emitting radiation in a frequency band that is nearly silent in the natural universe, positioned between soft X-rays and gamma rays. Comets and asteroids do not generate structured emissions in this range. Yet SW pulsed with remarkable precision, as though transmitting coded intervals. These emissions overwhelmed smaller ground-based detectors and even caused temporary sensor blindness in a prototype telescope array in Australia. Engineers described the phenomenon as deliberate interference, the kind of effect designed to disable observation systems. For the first time, speculation shifted from curiosity to concern. This was not just a fortress. It could be strategic, engineered to control what could observe it and what could not. Where earlier interstellar visitors were silent and evasive, Swan was assertive, disruptive, bending not only its environment but our instruments as well. Then came the signal. Amateur satellite observers detected a powerful energy burst originating from SWN, directed not toward Earth, but toward the Moon. The transmission was layered and complex, structured across amplitude, frequency, polarization, and harmonic patterns. Linguists, mathematicians, and cryptographers who examined the data noted that it resembled not language, but executable code, an instruction set rather than a message. When Deep Space Network analysts triangulated the emission, they confirmed its destination, a specific region of the lunar surface associated with dense mass concentrations beneath the crust. These lunar mascons have puzzled scientists for decades. Heavy anomalies that defy complete geological explanation. The implication was chilling. What if SW was not merely observing the Moon? What if it was activating something hidden beneath its surface? Something dormant, waiting for the correct signal? If so, then the Moon, long assumed to be a passive companion, may be part of a larger system we never fully understood. As SWN approached, monitoring stations across the globe began detecting disturbances not in space, but within Earth itself. Magnetometers on multiple continents recorded synchronized pulses every 43 seconds, perfectly matching SWN's emission cycle. Seismographs in Antarctica, South America, and Asia registered ultra-low-frequency vibrations unrelated to tectonic movement. Even more unsettling, migratory species across the planet, birds, whales, insects, altered their navigation patterns simultaneously, as though responding to a magnetic reference that had suddenly shifted. Earth itself appeared to resonate, as if recalling something long buried within its structure. Scientists debated whether these effects were coincidences, solar artifacts, or indirect consequences of SWN's presence. But to those watching closely, the conclusion was unavoidable. This was no longer an event unfolding somewhere distant. It had reached us, vibrating through our planet and influencing systems we believe were independent of the cosmos. By this point, a narrative too disturbing to openly acknowledge began taking shape among astronomers and theorists. What if the strange interstellar visitor detected in 2017 had been the lock? A quiet probe, testing readiness, waiting for a trigger. And what if Atlas and SW together represented the key, the scout and the stronghold, the messenger and the guardian? One small, fast, adaptive, gathering information. The other vast, shielded, carrying the energy and authority to activate something ancient and immense. Fueling this idea was a troubling coincidence. During one of SWN's strongest emission cycles, both Voyager spacecraft briefly deviated from standard protocol, transmitting bursts of data that analysts still cannot decode, as if dormant systems had been stirred awake. If this interpretation is correct, then SWN's arrival is not the beginning of a story, but the continuation of one that began long before humanity existed, written in cycles embedded within space itself. The James Webb Space Telescope was designed to look outward, to study the earliest light of the universe and unravel the history of galaxies long gone. Instead, it has given us a reflection, forcing us to consider that the story may never have been about distant stars at all. Swan and 3 Atlas did not drift into our solar system by accident. Their timing, their scale, their impossible maneuvers, and their silence during the blackout all point toward intention. A lock and a key, a drone in a fortress, a rendezvous not meant to be seen. And yet, we saw it. That changes everything. It suggests that for the first time in human history, we may not have intercepted a random phenomenon, but a mission, a sequence, a cycle older than civilization itself, returning precisely when we finally built the tools capable of noticing. And if that is true, Then the most disturbing realization follows naturally. We were never the observers. We were the observed. SWN's pulses through Earth's magnetic field, its transmissions to the Moon, its resonance through animals and geological systems all imply that our planet has been part of this framework far longer than we ever imagined. The fortress is not here by chance. Atlas is not here alone. Together, they may belong to a system we do not yet understand. One that sees Earth not as an accident, but as a node, a data point, perhaps even an objective. Whether the purpose is contact, seeding, or activation remains unknown. But the silence from our institutions and enforced blackouts speak louder than any official statement. We sought answers and were instead confronted with a mirror. Swan and Atlas are not merely astronomical anomalies. They may be evidence that we have crossed a threshold, a point at which the universe begins to respond. And the most unsettling part is not that we do not understand what is happening. It is the possibility that we were never meant to. The question now is not whether humanity will make contact, but whether it already has, and whether the true signal was not what we received, but what we sense simply by noticing. Because sometimes, observation itself is the message, and the cosmos may finally be responding.